Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 180 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network, talking all things football. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek as per usual. Hope you're having a good Thursday morning. It's May the 1st, if you can believe it or not. Like, time has flown by so quickly. But before we get into the football chat, just want to, talk quickly here about the tragic events here in Vancouver at the Lapu Lapu Filipino Festival last Saturday. As of now, last I heard, 11 dead, several still in hospital after someone drove a car into the festival area last Saturday. Someone who is Filipino, I was born here in Vancouver, raised here in Vancouver, but both my parents are Filipino. Obviously, the Filipino community is very affected by this. City of Vancouver is, and grateful for, the Vancouver Whitecaps, the Vancouver Rise, and all the sports teams offering their prayers and condolences. I wasn't at the festival, for those wondering. I know people who were, but they left before the whole thing happened. Thankfully, thank God, and others weren't so fortunate. Put it that way. Sadly, people are injured, people lost their lives, people lost friends, family. Our condolences, prayers go out to all the victims and to those affected by this senseless tragedy here in Vancouver. And I know the Filipino community will come back stronger, the city will come back stronger, because Lapu Lapu is a symbol of resistance, of resilience, because he, basically, for those who don't know, was basically a warrior, a general in some way that fought back against Spanish colonization hundreds of years ago in the Philippines.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be a day of celebration and pride for the Filipino culture, but unfortunately, it's a day that will live in infamy and in tragedy. So, condolences to go out to the victims and their loved ones. So, football chat on a lighter note. Believe it or not, I mean, we're gonna get fired up for this. This is real. I still can't believe it. I still haven't recovered. I don't, but you haven't.
Nope.
The Vancouver Whitecaps have knocked off Inter Miami and are in the Champions Cup final.
And they did it with flair.
Yeah,
right?
But before we get to that, there was also a game on the weekend too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about this game quickly. Obviously, with the game in Miami coming up, Jesper Sorensen decided to play a rotated squad, which made a lot of sense. Players like Giuseppe Bovalina got a start. Javine Badwal got his first ever start in MLS. Hey, Sam Adekugbe got a start, to get him back into fitness
Nelson
as well. And Jaden Nelson
as well. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch this game fully. You did the post game. First half, It was kind of a slog, kind of an game.
It was a testy game. I mean, I believe it was 8 changes that were made to the squad. I mean, big changes. Andres Kubas wasn't even on the bench for
apparently he picked up a knock. Very minor knock.
It was more precaution. Like, he was on the trip because they knew that they were going to be flying directly to Miami.
And good on Jesper for realizing that they didn't want to risk him.
Absolutely. But the one thing I think that is really, really good about this Whitecaps side, and I was talking about this with friend of the show, Simon Fudge, Soccer Talk. Also, we were talking about it with Jesper Sorensen. Is while the philosophy, the formation, the tactics, and the overall team presentation, the structure always remains the same, the players that you bring in and out of the lineup in various positions don't necessarily have the same job description as their counterpart in that same position. And a really good example of this is Sam Adekugbe and Tate Johnson. Don't expect Tate Johnson to do what Sam Adekugbe does. Adekugbe, we know that he is running up and down, the sideline more than almost any other player, basically like Eddie Arcampo on the right. He's going to get into the bylines. He's getting in scoring positions. Tate Johnson is more defensive-minded. He can hit those early crosses, something that Sam doesn't do. If he's hitting crosses, they're coming later in, or they're coming more from the side. So what Jesper has done is he's created a system that he can adapt to conditions. And we
Right.
saw that in this game with how many changes we saw. No one's another example. No one's going to expect Ralph Priso to be Andres Kubas.
Yep.
Yet he can still be a very efficient number 6 as Ralph Priso, not Andres Kubas. I thought this was a really, really good game that highlights that depth, highlights what this team can do as well. And I get it, like this team hasn't really played together. That back line is the first time they'd ever played together.
And good on Jesper for making players not be something they're not.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And I think that's a big point.
You can't expect Tate Johnson to be the overlap guy because that's just not who he is. Ahmed Akube is that guy. But Sorensen lets Tate Johnson be Tate Johnson.
Yeah. And grow as he does too, because this is a player that is continuing his rise, his local rise. But even though he's getting a little bit of recognition for what he's been able to do as such a young player. Big battle also in between the sticks. Takioka versus St. Clair.
Two of the best goalkeepers in MLS this season.
They were tied, I believe, on clean sheets going into this match.
Yep.
If it wasn't for a very late goal, Takioka could have surpassed St. Clair. But definitely you have to say Yohei Takioka has proved himself to be an efficient MLS goalkeeper. I know people were still out of him because of what happened last night, and we can talk about that. But more often than not, he is able to do the job.
Yep.
His numbers have increased pretty significantly from last year. Like right now, on paper, he's a top 5 goalkeeper in this league.
Yeah, and clean sheets is still in the top 5, top 3 even.
Clean sheets, he's top.
I don't think around this time last year he was even close.
No, I think right now he's still tied for first in clean sheets. But to any goalkeeper's credit, not just Takioka, any goalkeeper, you also have a very, very solid back line. That plays into it as well. But again, I think we have to look at every player on this squad and how much they have improved under this new coach, underneath this new formation, underneath an understanding of what their role is, not only within the system, but for themselves. Because you got to remember, that's different every time. We heard from at practice, Sorensen on the pitch with the midfielders, not just coaching with them, but actually working with them, things like that, right? Little pieces like that I guess in Vancouver, we just weren't accustomed to.
Yeah. And the goals did come in the second half thanks to some subs. Looked like Giuseppe Bovalina was offside, but VAR said otherwise, and a banger of a goal from Sebastian Berhalter.
He scores.
He only scores bangers.
He only scores bangers.
Yeah, and speaking of midfielders, 2 for Pedro Vite, and his stock continues to rise.
Yeah, one was a beautiful lobbing over St. Clair, and having the ability to know that it's going to drop just before that crossbar. I think the one thing that first off, the work ethic with Pedro Vite, but his composure.
Yeah. And his maturity and intensity. Because I remember Vanni Sartini in 2022 said Vite needed more intensity. He
was so raw. Back
then,
and he was still raw. You knew what he had to unlock. It was just a matter of finding the right key.
Yeah,
it took a while, but he has progressively, and we saw flashes of this last year, right? We did see flashes. Again, you can argue with Berhalter, right? Like every year, he's increased his ability and what he's been able to do as well. Last year, in Vancouver, we already knew the player that we were getting, and we were already talking last year about we got this guy for $50,000 in allocation money, right?
Yeah.
This year, it's not just us; it's everyone talking about this.
Yeah, and there was a good post by the Whitecaps Twitter account last night on Vite that had the Dragon Ball Z aura thing. This isn't even his final form, which is true. This isn't even the best of Pedro Vite. He's just entering his prime.
Isn't he something how old is he?
22, 23?
I was going to say 23.
23, yeah.
Again, you know what? It's like Rajko Veselinovic. I forget about how young they are because they feel like they've been with the Whitecaps for such a long time, right?
Yeah. And being like you said, not if not for the late goal by Minnesota, Takaoka could have had another clean sheet, but it was a job well done by the Whitecaps in Minnesota. That's 2 years in a row they've won at Allianz Field down in the Twin Cities. And there's a little altercation at the end involving Emmanuel Sabi and Rosales of Minnesota.
Yep.
Both teams had to put up statements.
Yeah, both teams put out statements about anti-defamation, anti-racism statements. Let's be honest, we don't know what was said. Everything is speculation. The overarching belief is that something was said to
across the line.
Sabi reacted. Sebastian Berhalter came in there as well, part of the reaction, and then also trying to pull players away afterwards. We are still waiting on MLS's disciplinary council committee people to make a ruling. I have no idea if Drew Frazier heard anything on the pitch, but he did go through that first level of protocol that MLS has, like where he talked to the players. He talked to both coaches together at the same time, because that's part of it as well. I think if he has to stop it again, then it heads to players leaving the pitch and whatnot. But it never got to that because the game was pretty much over at that point. It was in the dying gasps, right?
Yeah. But given the way the Whitecaps reacted, something crossed the line.
It makes you feel. Tanu Oluwasi spoke to media afterwards as well. Canadian international player on Minnesota. And, he made the comments as well. Like, obviously, as a black player, when you hear something like that, there's a very visceral reaction. And he basically said, like, I didn't hear it. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, right? Like, he was trying to tread a very fine line to his credit. But, yeah, I mean, with what he said and that this is now in the hands of MLS and it's going to be up to them, he's right.
Yep.
Right? Right. I mean, he's taken a very diplomatic approach. It's tough to be someone who is the recipient of such behavior, but then also trying to defend your teammate, right? It's
but
not an enviable position.
Yeah. And other than that, 3 points for the Whitecaps.
The other thing, before we go on, I do want to also credit is Jesper Sorensen. As soon as the whistle blew, the first thing he did is he ran over to Emmanuel Sabi.
Yeah. Good on him.
Comforting his player, had an arm around the shoulder, walked off with him. It's the kind of manager you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 points for the Whitecaps, top of the supporter shield standings still. But last night, the big one in Fort Lauderdale. Well, obviously we weren't there, but some other media members were there. Some of the Southsiders were there. This was always going to be
tough. To your voice. We Southsiders, supporters, everyone that went down, we heard you.
Yeah, we heard you.
Like
the Boundary Road chant.
How rare is it in MLS with how big North America is? How rare is it that we hear away supporters chants and cheers on a broadcast because the rest of us obviously can't make the trip. So credit to you. That was phenomenal.
If you were down in Miami, credit to you. Just beautiful hearing all the chants from the Southsiders down there. And the Whitecaps gave you all the reason to be chanting and cheering because 3-1 win in leg 2 and a 5-1 win on aggregate over Inter Miami. Imagine telling someone that like a few months ago.
You and I both thought this was going to go down to away goals again. So to this, I mean, a 5-1 is an emphatic.
Yeah, it's a statement.
Yeah, there's no belief that the Whitecaps just squeaked by. They played their game plan and they did it to beautiful effect.
Yeah, and wasn't the best start for the Whitecaps because Inter Miami were coming out guns blazing and controlled the ball like in leg 1, and this time they managed to score early. A lot of space was given to Jordi Alba. The poor defending from Ocampo and the rest of the defenders. Fortunately, Takaoka couldn't handle Alba's shot and just squeaked through his hands, and Miami were back in the tie.
Yeah. It's not a good goal. We can be honest
Yeah.
about that. One Takioko's going to wish he would have had. One that Ocampo's going to wish that he didn't get skinned.
Oh, he got yeah.
Yeah. Again, started with wasn't it Messi breaking into the box? I don't think he ended up having the final assist.
He had the
like
hockey assist. Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's a little bit of blame to throw around on this, but you don't really need to throw blame on this. A goal was going to be inevitable at some point in the game. The one thing I will say about the first half was it was actually a better first half than the first game. The Whitecaps had more possession. They were still able to keep that structure. Yes, a goal was scored. Does that surprise anyone?
No, because it's Inter Miami.
It's Inter Miami, in front of their fans. It shouldn't surprise anyone. We knew that was going to happen. But I thought for going into a very hostile environment and still maintaining what you were doing and doing it arguably better in terms of being able to hold the ball and have possession, their possession was almost 15% higher in this first half
than in the first
half of the first game.
Yeah.
So to get to halftime, and yes, it was a little scrambly, to get to halftime at the scoreline that they were at, I think did a lot to give them belief for what they could do in the second 45.
Yeah, and after the goal, the Whitecaps started to get settled into the game. Stabby, soon after, he hit the post.
Should have had that one.
Yeah, and White had a couple shots on the story as well.
Yeah. Other than that, I would say Stabby was a little bit quiet on the night.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not gonna begrudge that.
And some poor giveaways from the Whitecaps causing Inter Miami to go back the other way, but thankfully Takaoka stood tall. Ocampo made up for his blunder, and so did the rest of the back line. I mean, Messi did have that one shot, but he shot it to the moon.
Yeah. Nothing to really worry about too much. And then not that far into the second half, Brian White doing Brian White stuff.
Brian White stuff. And I talked about giving Miami players space on socials last night. Miami players, they shouldn't have given Brian White space.
Yeah.
He takes
51st minute, phenomenal to get that away goal. And I mean, we were talking about how important one away goals. Well, that wasn't enough for them. 2 minutes later, Pedro Vite.
I mean, this Vite goal, cheeky lob over a story.
Was it a lob or did it take a deflection? I still don't know. I've watched it so many times.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's a goal is a goal. It doesn't have to look pretty, right? But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, was that 2 goals in 2 minutes from White and Vite?
Yeah, and at that point it was done. Like I felt in my brain, or I felt in my heart, this was done. The tie is done. But in my brain, I was like, I know I can still get hurt.
Yeah, me too. And should mention that White has passed Carl Valentine for 4th all-time in Whitecaps history. That's dating back to the 1970 to 1994. Right? And with that goal.
I mean, the guy's still writing a story, right? He's not finished yet.
Yeah, and Sebastian Berhalter had an assist on the White goal, and was all over the pitch, and on Vite's, and he gets one himself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a 3.9.
He did. He got the secondary assist on the Vite goal.
Yeah, and then his own.
Yeah, just a shot from just inside the box, one timer.
Yeah.
Blasted past his story. That guy just blasts the ball.
Yeah. There's not a lot of finesse in what he does. The whole idea is just to put it through the back strings, right?
Yeah, and he was the man of the match in the game, rightfully so, because he nullified Messi and his friends, and fortunately he will miss the final due to yellow card accumulation, as he got yellows in both legs.
And again, it's just CONCACAF being CONCACAF. I think in the United States on the Fox broadcast, they initially were talking about how yellow cards get canceled, heading to the final, so everyone's going to be fine. And even they had to correct themselves because CONCACAF and their crazy rules, right? The fact that everyone makes a change, and then it takes a while for everyone to catch up. CONCACAF still hasn't caught up with away goals. Whitecaps are riding that wave. Maybe we don't want them.
Hey, Whitecaps are thankful for away goals.
Yeah, exactly. But there is that.
Yeah, and Tom Bolger tweeted that he hates the yellow card accumulation rule in general. And then when Berhalter got the L, he was like, "Oh, see what I mean?"
Yeah. Yeah. I know
It's
why it's
dumb.
there, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah. I mean, I get a rule's a rule, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It's like running in the halls in school. I know
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
I know why it's a rule, but I don't have. Doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, again, this is just part and parcel of what the Whitecaps have been able to do under Jesper Sorensen. We're also still seeing this team grow under Sorensen because, I mean, they haven't even been together half a year. So what they were able to do in this leg, it's still not the pinnacle of what we're going to see from this team.
Yeah, again, this isn't our final form.
No, not at all. Yeah, I just took a look at it right now. That Vito on Whitecaps Twitter was on fire last night.
Yeah, credit to the admin of the Whitecaps.
Yeah, they had a number of ones. The no herons allowed picture.
Yeah, and the David Beckham be honest meme.
Yeah, there was
credit to Julie and the social media team with the Vancouver Whitecaps. You were on fire last night, and I assume those were in the drafts. So, but in the game, like again, the Whitecaps adapting to the situation.
Yeah. And again, adapting because Sam Adekugbe started this game. Or no, sorry, Tate Johnson started this game. Nelson was also on the bench as well because they're still coming back. You know, expect them to play 90 minutes is something you don't normally get. The yellow card Johnson got in the first half, I think, was unfortunate.
Yeah,
it's a tough one to swallow. I understand why that change was made because they were after that yellow card, they were targeting him.
Oh yeah,
they were targeting him, trying to get under his skin, trying to make him do something rash to get the red. And I get the experienced players going after someone on a yellow, trying to better their situation. I find it so childish that they're doing this to a guy that's so young and learning his craft. But I mean, he's a professional as a professional, no matter if you're 19 or 29. So, I just
reminder: Tate Johnson can't even legally buy alcohol in the States.
Yeah, totally right.
And they're targeting the guy.
That's why he's playing in BC, right?
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
There is a lot about how Inter Miami conducts themselves.
Yep.
That I'm not a fan of, and that's why it's funny that all these players are from Barcelona because to me it's Real Madrid. There's a lot they do that I don't like either.
Yeah. So Suarez too. The guy's invisible, other than him diving and complaining.
He's done. Like I'm sorry. Yeah, what has he got? Yeah, he had a season last year. He's got what, 1 goal this year?
Something like that.
1 goal.
He had that one chance in the second half, tried to hook it, but not even close.
Everyone's talking about how he's not able to run anymore. He doesn't have the legs for it. I don't know if he has the legs to walk.
Yeah, he spends more time complaining than actually scoring goals.
Miami needs to take a look at what it means to build a roster in MLS. Because with all the crazy rules that MLS has in roster construction, you can make that play to your strength.
Yeah, and people on the go look on the Inter Miami subreddit. They're talking about this. They're talking about Mascherano. They're bashing him and Suarez, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, we have Messi and his crew, but this is just a short-term thing. What happens to the club after Messi leaves?"
Well, you and I were talking about this before this game because we were talking about. I mean, this group here, Mascherano brought in. This was the tournament.
Yep.
Why everyone was here. It's weird to say, but it wasn't MLS. MLS is something, yes, but they were brought in for Champions Cup. What happens to Mascherano?
Yeah. And like Miami, like just your core is a bunch of old guys, and the depth isn't good enough.
Does De Bruyne solve that? Or is he just another old guy?
He's just another old guy at this point. And maybe they could have used Robert Taylor Could have used Julian Gressel, but they're now on different MLS teams. They
Yep.
could have used Fafa Pico, but he was on the bench for both legs.
I still don't understand why they didn't bring on Fafa in the first leg.
Yeah.
A guy who understands and knows what BC Place is like to play.
And a guy who can win battles.
Not only that, but you think of how difficult the passing was for Inter Miami in that first game because they didn't understand the speed of the turf. Pico was a guy that would have been able to excel in that.
Hey, he did well on the weekend when Miami lost to Dallas. I thought he should have started.
Yeah.
For Miami. But for the Whitecaps, they went all out with the lineup, and I mean, the way they just adapted well. Nervy at times in that first half. That second half, it was just, like the Mortal Kombat finishing move, like finish him.
Yeah, it was kind of flogging a bit of a dead horse.
Yeah, and the Kylo Ren Last Jedi quote.
Yeah,
that was me watching the Whitecaps score like more.
So what does this mean for them going on? We're still waiting for leg 2 of the other side of the bracket between Tigres and Cruz Azul. That the first game between those two had ended up in a 1-1 draw. They're going to be playing their second leg tonight.
Well, I'll be watching that.
Yeah, I don't know what the time is. Well, I gotta play double duty because I got my Oilers game tonight too, right?
I will be watching both games.
Yeah,
as well. I will be watching the Oilers and watching Cruz Azul Tigres.
Depending on Cruz Azul and Tigres, there is a chance that the final can be hosted at BC Place. But there's a lot of math going on in order to see what this is. In order for it to be hosted at BC Place, they have to go to 90 minutes in the second leg, 1-1.
Yeah, no more than that.
Then they have to it has to go to penalties, doesn't it?
I believe
or are they both awarded a point if it just gets to the 90 minutes?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe they're both awarded a point.
Because if that's it, then that makes a 3-way tie with the Whitecaps on 10 points, and then it goes to goal difference. Right now, the Whitecaps and goal difference are +4. Tigres and Cruz Azul, I think one's
goals
+3.
They mentioned on the One Soccer broadcast after the game that goals scored is tiebreaker
afterwards. Yeah, and that's what it could be.
It just has to be a draw basically.
Yeah,
after 90.
Yeah. Okay.
We fingers crossed. That's the case. If not, the final will be in Mexico City or Monterrey.
I'm hoping, and not because of the perceived level of the competition, but because of the history that the Whitecaps have, I'm hoping that they play Tigres.
That's what I'm hoping to. Get a chance to slay the dragon, given the Whitecaps had never beaten Tigres
and they've played them a number of times. Like even going back to 2017 when they were doing champion. Yeah,
2017 Champions League as it's called at the time.
Yeah,
the 2023 Leagues Cup, 2024 Champions Cup.
Yeah, like there's been a number of times these two teams have met each other, and I would like if you're gonna win in an overall tournament, why not do it against a team that it's always been a bit difficult.
Yeah, no, they've never played Cruz Azul either.
I don't think they've ever played Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul, arguably on paper, should be the better side.
Yeah, but I forgot his name, but their striker is tied with White on goals in Champions Cup.
Do I have it here?
Because I saw, because White is like tied with him for the Golden Boot in Champions Cup.
That's right. That's right. Cruz Rodriguez.
Yeah, I believe that's him.
Carlos Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah.
But whether the final is going to be in BC Place or in Mexico, this will be the biggest Whitecaps game since the 1979 soccer ball. And, this is massive because the trophy will be on the line and the Whitecaps have a chance to, claim CONCACAF supremacy to prove that they can be the best team in this region.
If this game ends up at BC Place, do they beat the Inter Miami game in terms of attendance, or was that Inter Miami game because of Messi and Suarez and Busquets and Alba and all these players?
It's possible, but they really got to be, marketing the hell out of it.
They do. And the thing is they have time to do it. That game's not until June 1st.
But if that game is at BC Place.
Regardless, it's on June 1st. But if it's at
Yeah.
BC Place, they have time to market it, right? We got a month.
Yeah, and last night was a massive result. The way the Whitecaps just silenced Messi and Suarez and Inter Miami. And this goes to show the character of this team is why not us? Like Sebastian Berhalter and Brian White. Apparently, they talked about it last night. Like, oh, why not? We can do this. We're the underdogs. We're a team from Vancouver. Why not us? Kind of like the 2013 Seattle Seahawks mentality. Why not us? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
regardless of Cruz Azul or Tigres, where the finals here or in Mexico, again, it will be the biggest game since the 1979 Soccer Bowl, and it would mean a lot for the Whitecaps to win it, for the club, for the fans, and for the city. So get behind the Whitecaps right now.
You might as well have one team that's winning because you're doing it.
I mean, Rick Tocchet's gone, and there's a whole lot of issues I don't want to get into with the Canucks.
I'm just going to stay very quiet when it comes to hockey talk.
Yeah, but no disrespect to the Canadians or the Warriors, but the Whitecaps are the team to watch in Vancouver right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, just a great game last night, and another fun fact for you: Kubas has stopped Lionel Messi 3 times, and Messi still has not scored when Kubas plays against him. So Kubas is Messi's kryptonite. Hey, Kubas was in Messi's head too.
Yeah. We saw that in the first game, definitely.
Yeah, and last night as well. Last night, Messi can't figure out the Paraguayan N'Golo Kante, and Kubas was Kubas again against Inter Miami, because this guy is just a hell of a player, one of the best, if not the best 6 in MLS. And another mind-blowing stat, courtesy of One Soccer and OptaJack: the Vancouver Whitecaps are the only team in the world to beat Lionel Messi in their first 2 games against him.
Beat Lionel Messi, not Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only team in the world. So remember that for trivia night.
Yeah, no doubt. We should take this show on the road.
Yeah, if only, hey, maybe if the final is in Mexico, could you imagine us doing this show on the beach or wherever in Mexico?
I can do that. Yeah, unfortunately, Mexico City is not on the beach, but we can do it some elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, or in the hotel or wherever. But
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, just I still can't believe it. And if you whether you've been a fan since the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or since they came into MLS, enjoy this, because this team's fun to watch. This is what you've been waiting for.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, right? Sit back and just have fun at the show, because it's great to just watch.
Yeah, such a likable team too, because Sebastian Berhalter talked about it with Christian Jack of One Soccer. He said, "A great group of guys. I've never been part of a group like this."
Winning teams, regardless of the sport, always seem to have that mentality, right? Well, I mean, I guess you have one or two things. One, you've got the team where everyone just gels and that everyone is just generally likable, or you have the team where it's us versus the world, right?
Yeah, which I guess like a Real Madrid. Yeah,
this is the likable team, and it's it's a great story.
There's no egos on this team.
Yeah, it was interesting because we had Kevin Egan on the show for our bonus episode last Monday, and he was talking a little bit about this in comparing the Whitecaps to what Columbus was a few years ago when Nazi came in, and just again another likable team, another team that was kind of being hard done by. Like, we didn't know if Columbus was going to survive in Columbus.
And, remember the Save the Crew moment? movement.
Yeah, getting the job done in MLS and MLS Cup and whatnot. So again, the Whitecaps, a little bit of uncertainty and just things in the air that just brought in a little bit of disquiet at the beginning of the season. And they're doing this. It's a good story.
Yeah, I believe Paul Tenorio was on 650 with Halford and Bruff past week, and he said there's a lot of interest now, and like the potential buyers are local, which is a good sign.
Good,
And
good.
honestly, this with the Whitecaps up for sale and the team being this good, like that's perfect timing.
Also, I mean, you're seeing. I think the fans are playing a big role in this as well for prospective buyers because they're seeing how important the Whitecaps are to the fabric of the sporting
Yeah,
community and just the city in general. Right?
yeah,
You don't want
and
to rip that out.
I
You want to
mean,
make it better.
why would you move a team that's having the best season in franchise history? So you want to keep this team here,
You want to be a
and
part of that. You don't want to change. I mean, you want to make it better, but you don't want
yeah,
to rip it apart.
you
Yeah.
want to be part of making things even better. And let's not forget, on the pitch, the Whitecaps are doing this without their best player, Ryan Gold.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to
real to say.
forget. Like you're watching the Whitecaps win these games, I'm like, oh yeah, Ryan Gold, he's still injured.
You know what? It was great to see him on the sidelines last night, cheering the goals. Ryan Gold, hopefully, we know he's back in training. We're hoping that he's going to be able to get back into full match training and get some games under his belt. But he's going to be, ideally, that guy that comes in for Seb Bearhalter in a month.
Yeah, and unless there's another setback, hope not.
Yeah.
He should be fit for the final.
Yeah. That, I mean, you got to forget there's still, Jason Gondo that fits in there.
Yeah, who
players like that,
done
right?
well in Champions Cup.
So yeah.
Yeah, and well, I mean, there's that LeBron James meme that I tweeted, like smiling through it all or whatever. Can't believe this is my life. Yeah, if you're a Whitecaps fan, I'm sure you feel the same way because I mean, it's beautiful. It's amazing to talk about the Whitecaps like this. As media members, it's fun to cover a winning team. Put it that way. Oh, by the way, our last
You know what? A losing team might give you a lot to write about, but a winning team is a lot more fun.
Yeah, and by the way, I believe our last episode, not the bonus one, last week, was our most listened episode ever or second most.
Was it?
Yeah, because our numbers for this show are going up. And I believe it's the same for the articles.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that to all of you that are listening.
So that's what a winning team does.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Everyone loves a winning team. And then, as a fan, I mean, deep down, Nathan and I are fans of this club. This is great to see as well. So one thing to mention, speaking of good things, Brian White.
Yes.
MLS Player of the Month for April. No surprise. Just the fourth Whitecaps player to have this honor. Camilo did it twice in 2013. David Osted did it also, I believe, 2014.
Yep.
And the last one, Octavio Rivero in March 2015. And it's been a decade since the Whitecaps had a Player of the Month.
In this month, 3 games White has played in MLS. He's had 5 goals in those 3 games. Now, he was tied on goals with Joseph Martinez of San Jose, Sam Surridge of Nashville. But White did it in fewer minutes. I think out of the 3 games, it was 270 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 4 goals against Austin.
Yeah.
And that also helped. Yeah, but it's just crazy. Like, Morales was never Player of the Month. Gold was never Player of the Month, nor neither Alphonso Davies.
In this month, the Whitecaps as a whole have registered a +8 goal differential in 1 month.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This is like,
they're not just winning games 1-0, 2-1, things like that. They're going in and being emphatic in how they're doing it. They're winning goals by multiple margins, and it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's so good to see. It's so good to see a healthy Brian White, because you got to remember in other seasons he's had kind of starts and stops. He started the season and he hasn't let go, right? And everyone understands their role in making him be able to do what he does. Because Brian White isn't Brian White without a team giving him the ball.
Yeah, because the guy needs service.
Yeah. We're
What's
so
Brian White
used
without
to
service?
that throughout the Whitecaps, recent history of that being Ryan Gauld, the Brian White Ryan Gauld show, the best 1-2 pairing attack in MLS. It's not just Ryan Gauld. He's got an entire orchestra of people behind him. It's
Yeah.
really, really nice to see.
You can't just have one violinist. You need cellos, a brass, piano, even percussion. Whitecaps are a full orchestra.
I want to see how that fits off into if you're taking an orchestra and putting it into Sorensen's tactical breakdown. Where's
Yeah,
the midfield?
I mean, really think about it. I mean, the bass to me, like the bass instruments are the midfield.
Is it? I was gonna say defense because they're like without them, you miss them, but they're always there. They're always constant.
I always, as someone who played music, I always, looked at the bass as like the engine of a group.
Okay, then fair enough. I know nothing about music other than I listen to it.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a good article analogy for another time. And Whitecaps back in action this weekend. Real Salt Lake come to BC Place.
You know what? I was surprised. I just taken a look at this team. RSL is a team that's usually a good mid Western Conference team. They're sitting in
last year
right now on 4 wins and 6 losses.
Yeah, no draws.
Yeah.
Hey,
and they have been leaky as well. They're very leaky in back. 15 goals allowed in 10 matches. They're averaging just over a goal a game, like barely, like we're talking fractional. But their defense is poor, and that is something that a team like the Whitecaps can feast on.
Yeah, and RSL won 3-1 in San Diego last week. Diego Luna with 2 goals, a rising player, by the way. Only 22 years old. But the game before that, they lost the TFC at home.
The other thing is in the 10 matches they've played so far, they've had 3 red cards.
Yeah. Luna got the one against Toronto. Apparently, as I'm looking here.
I haven't looked to see anywhere else, but for a team, that's got to be up in that top of the league in terms of,
has to be.
Disciplinary action. 3 yellow cards in 10 games is a lot.
Reds, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Reds. Yeah, Reds. 3 yellow cards would be fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a team that can score goals. Luna has become pretty much the heartbeat of the attack, but leaky, like you said, at the back. And in the past, RSL have been a good defensive team. Like someone like Justin Glad has been one of the best defenders in MLS in years past. This year, I don't think not so much.
Not even really been a part of this squad, I don't think.
Yeah, and despite losing Arango to San Jose, RSL is still firing on all cylinders. The Whitecaps is to be defensively sound this Saturday against Luna and company.
Yeah.
Zach McMath also has been a goalkeeper that's played very well against the Whitecaps in years past. Also, I keep forgetting he's a former Whitecap too. He wasn't here long.
No, he wasn't, and didn't really feature.
Yeah. And also, worth mentioning, Javaden Brown will make his return to BC Place this weekend.
Right, yeah.
Former Whitecaps defender.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, Whitecaps RSL this weekend, 6:30 at BC Place.
This game also marks the 3rd of the season over already.
Crazy.
I know, right?
And the Whitecaps have a chance to gain some more ground in the Supporter Shield race. I can't believe I'm saying that. The Whitecaps are in the Supporter Shield race.
I know. I had them making the playoffs just because they make the playoffs. I was still, like I said, I was hoping at the beginning of the season, I wanted them to break that 50-point mark. Which would say be good for like a sixth place. They're blowing
almost halfway there.
Yeah, blowing my expectations out the water. I
remember saying that they'd finish 6th, but I remember also saying don't be surprised if they finish top 4 in the Western Conference. and they're
Don't
blowing
be
that off.
surprised if they finish top 4. Don't be surprised if they finish 12th, right? Like the Western Conference. Let's be honest. The Western Conference as a whole is weaker than the East. The
Yeah,
East
Kevin
has
Egan
some
talked about
very
that
strong
as well.
teams, but the teams in the West that are good are very good.
Yeah.
And the Whitecaps are the top of that.
Yeah, imagine telling someone back in February that the Whitecaps would be first in the Western Conference and LA Galaxy would be at the bottom.
February, when we were worried about a team sale, a brand new coach, and players in February that were being injured, and man, you really have to put an arm around someone's shoulder there.
Yeah, and one of the DPs bolting back to England.
That's right. Yeah. You know, it was funny. I was actually looking at that because when I was writing, I was talking about DPs. I actually had to go and look up Stuart Armstrong's name because I had forgotten. He'd been here for like the time of a hiccup that I couldn't actually remember what his name was.
Well, he's missing out.
Yeah.
And I believe Sheffield Wednesday or 12th in the championship or whatever. So that's the Whitecaps, and man, it's been fun.
We got another Vancouver team though.
Yeah, Vancouver Rise. I was at Swangard to watch their first game there. And by the way, that press box is cramped and tight.
Yeah,
if you go there, you're gonna have a hell of a time.
I'm gonna be there on Monday for Rise's third match, and I've heard that you get like 5 people in there, and you're already pretty much shoulder to shoulder. So
yeah, it's a tight squeeze.
Yeah,
and fortunately, the Rise lost to the Montreal Roses. Starts with a really rough first half. Montreal given so much space on the throw-in, and then Haley Whitaker gets on the loose ball and beats Morgan McCaslin like 4 minutes into the match.
Yeah, not a good start.
Yeah, and I feel like they were relying too much on Quinn and Nicole Stanton in the midfield to winning the ball back, because other than that, they weren't really generating anything offensively in the first half. And remember how we talked about Holly Ward being a thorn in the side for Calgary?
Yeah.
Montreal locked her down.
Really?
Yeah. Like you could barely, like she was in the pockets of the Montreal defenders.
Interesting. Because she was so good at breaking the fullback in the first game 1v1 with the ball, right?
Yeah, and I asked the Montreal coach about it at the end of the game. He's like, yeah, that's pretty much the team we want to be, like a very good defensive team.
Montreal, undefeated so far. I mean, yeah, 2 games in, but they're the only team on 6 points.
Yeah, and just like Montreal's like low block was nasty, and Rise only had 1 shot attempt in the first half. By the way, attempt and not on target attempt.
Yikes!
It just went over the bar. But like that second goal, also Montreal just quick on the transition, and Ali Hess just left-footed shot beat McCaslin cleanly. But the third goal, I had no chance for McCaslin on this one. Again, off the throw-in. Giving players so much space on the throw-in.
You know what? But they were doing that in the first game as well, I've been noticing. Where they're standing back. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and Abdu, screamer, just right on the edge of the box. Like, no chance for McCaslin.
Yeah.
Gotta applaud that shot. Yeah, but despite the result, good crowd at Swangard.
Good.
After every goal, fans were still chanting and singing like, let's go Rise and all that. And yeah, I don't think the result really was a bitter taste in the fans. I mean, it looked like everyone had a good time, regardless.
That's good. That's good. I think Montreal is an early surprise. I don't think people expected them to.
I was talking to
that, but
a friend of the show, Alex Gonge-Ruzik. He was there with me in the press box. He said the big teams to watch in the NSL were Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal.
Well, the big 3 cities, right?
Yeah, but the second half was a lot better. I'll give the Rise credit. They started pressing more, being more active and winning the corner kicks. And they finally tested Gabrielle Lambert. in the second half. It was a close range shot from Pachursky, but didn't really bother Lambert too much. And at least they scored one, and it was a penalty kick from Quinn. Just made no mistake. So both goals in the Rise's history so far are penalties from Quinn.
That was my other thing. Again, it's only 2 games in, but is there a worry that you haven't scored a goal from open play yet?
Yeah, I mean, Anya Heiner Muller,
especially when both of your games have been home matches.
Yeah, she said that, yeah, they need to be better in the attack, and they'll work on that.
Okay.
I'm disappointed with the result, but there's a lot to learn from, especially in that second half, what showed glimpses of what the attack can be.
I think that there's going to be a lot of learning. I think that's a good way of putting it. There's going to be a lot of learning in this first half of this first NSL season, because even though they had very, very long preseasons, roster changes were still happening continuously because you're building a team from nothing. But you also couldn't really you haven't played a competitive match. A competitive match is different than what you're doing in training. It's different than what you're doing in a preseason friendly. So you've only got 2 of those under your belt. It's going to take you some time to figure out what a competitive game means in this league. And I think that they should be given not a lot of leeway, but enough to become cohesive.
Yeah. And there are expectations for the Rise to be one of the best in the NSL, but it's going to take some time.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, new league, new team, growing pains are expected. Absolutely. And I mean, Heiner Muller and Shannon Waller weren't like super upset. They were disappointed, obviously, but they were like, yeah, we lost, but we can learn from this. We're still trying to figure things out. And they talked about it that Swangard's a nice intimate place, and it was nice to hear the fans all throughout the game.
The one I'd say the main disheartening thing is that the scoreline was so high against you. 3 goals against you in your home
in the first half.
I mean, you should take that as a bit of a punch across the face, right?
It was, it was.
Come back, snap your head back.
I mean, the second half, there was bark but no bite.
Yeah.
In the second half, basically, because in the first half the passes weren't crisp. They kept losing the ball. Second half better, but final third, big issue.
Yeah, fair enough. 1-1 draw CPL.
Yeah, Sailors C Derby first in this year. Rough game for both teams, honestly. Not just Vancouver, but Pacific as well, and Vancouver still has without a win in the CPL season. Well, by the way, those 2 teams also meet tomorrow on the island for the prelim round of Canadian Championship.
Mm-hmm.
A name we're all familiar with, Nicholas Mosqueda, second goal in as many games.
Good for him.
17th minute, finds the ball from what's his face? Campbell, yeah. And just slots it past the Pacific goalkeeper. Taron Campbell, someone feels like he's been playing forever when he's only, 25? Good goal on Pacific goalkeeper Sean Melvin. But even with the lead, Pacific, after that, they couldn't really generate anything that well. And then Pacific just woke up, and not for Callum Irving's saves, Pacific would have won this game. And the former Pacific player, Kunle Dadaluk, this was just a silly red card. He reacts to his teammate getting challenged, and then he just pushes another Pacific player to the ground. Like, you can't do that.
No.
Like, that is just a idiotic
poor
red card, and he rightfully got sent to the showers. Pacific did get a goal off the corner kick courtesy of Ali Ndam, who, by the way, missed a huge chunk of last season due to an ACL injury. So good on Ndam for, coming back and scoring. But even up a man, Pacific just couldn't finish. And Callum Irving played a big role in that, but I'm sure Pacific were disappointed not to get all 3 points,
Right.
and they were up by a man. So it was a slog of a game for both teams, for both BC teams. And just looking at the standings now, early Pacific 1-1-2, Vancouver 0-2-2,
Yeah.
and Calvary also still have not had a win, but you would trust they'd figure out it out too.
Cavalry will figure it out. The big question mark is always going to be Valor.
Still without a win, and Valor plays TSS Rovers in the Canadian Championship.
And think of a League One team that has beat a CPL team before.
Yeah,
That's Rovers Valor.
Yeah, but this time it's going to be in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Cavalry. It feels like they're going through a championship hangover, but I think typically they've always started slow, but they'll figure it out. I'm sure.
Or are they this year's Galaxy?
I mean, they better not be. Given Cavalry's talent,
Yeah.
they have no reason to not, repeat. And Wanderers and Atletico Ottawa are both tied with 10 points with 3-1-0 records. So, that's the CPL, and pretty good start for Atletico Ottawa and Halifax Wanderers. Can't say the same about Vancouver FC.
No.
After
FC,
after Can Champ on Tuesday, they go to Winnipeg to play Valor. So battle of the winless teams.
I feel my thoughts about Vancouver FC is that right from the inception of this club, things got off on the wrong foot. I kind of feel like in order to fix the problems of this club, you got to start with kerosene and a match.
Yeah. And, signing Nicholas Mesquita is nice, but as a team, it's still quite a young team. I think the average age is like early 20s.
Yeah.
Mesquita and Paris G, I believe, are the oldest guys on this team.
Right.
So, I mean, I was talking with a guy, can't remember what, I think he was with Canada Soccer at Swangard on Sunday. He said it felt like there were more people at the Rise game at Swangard than at Willoughby Park for VFC Pacific.
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, arguably, you've also got the new kid in town. It's the shiny new toy that can play into it as well. But I'm honestly, that's what the NSL is aiming for. The NSL is aiming to have attendances comparable to the CPL. Yep. They should.
And, I mean, Vancouver FC.
Do you want to go to those games right now?
I mean, I would, but it's too far.
Yeah.
And the football isn't great.
Yeah. That's the thing. Even if you lived and the stadium's in your backyard, it's like I'm paying money, but I'm not. You're not getting a return on it. Like it's
give me a reason to go to the games. And
right now, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they need
Not really. Please don't. Not really.
Yeah, but that team needs to really figure it out. So let's go to Europe. Another win for Chelsea. Top 5 is still in progress, and a 1-0 win over Everton. And I can't remember what the exact stat was, but it's like over 20 straight wins at Stamford Bridge over Everton for Chelsea, dating back to 2004, which is a hell of a run. The only goal of the game, courtesy of Nicholas Jackson. First goal since December.
Wow.
December. He missed some time with injury, but still, it's been that long since he scored. Credit to Trevor Chalobah for winning the ball back, and then Enzo Fernandez finds Jackson and he just beats Pickford. And give credit to Robert Sanchez too for making some big saves, especially in the second half, and Chalobah for defending well. Romeo Lavia is back. Plays in the midfield next to Enzo Fernandez. Excels. For the love of God, this guy needs to stay healthy because Chelsea look dynamite when he plays, and they've won more often when he plays than they can't recall a time when they've lost when he played, when he started actually. So let this please stay healthy. Like the guy's hamstring has been a problem. And Caicedo did play, but he was at right back. No problem. And guess who has won more duels? Nobody has won more duels in the Premier League this season than Moises Caicedo.
It's not bad.
World class midfielder. I mean, worth the 100 million plus. And fortunately, Cole Palmer's still frozen. And I don't know if you saw, but there's a clip of him leaving Stamford Bridge, and the fans were going after him, and he had to run away.
What?
First of all, I don't understand why he was leaving the game so out in the open like that, and even trying to hide himself. He was just wearing a black hoodie.
You know what? I have a problem when fans do that.
Leave him alone.
Players, yeah, like guys going through something. You're not making it any better. You're just prolonging. You're exacerbating the problem.
Yeah, again, I still don't know why
childish thing to do too.
He was so out in the open like that, but leave the guy alone. He's going through a lot. 18 games without a goal for Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Frozen. And Djurgården in the Conference League is today. I think that's in Sweden. Yeah, it's in Sweden, and they play the Premier League champions at Stamford Bridge on Sunday, Liverpool. So I'm praying Liverpool just plays the under 18s because Chelsea need 3 points. And other than that, good win against Everton. Top 5 is still on. 60 points. 1 behind Man City, 2 behind Newcastle. Just above Nottingham Forest on goal differential. The draw against Ipswich hurts because Chelsea would have been third if they beat Ipswich.
Right.
So, there's rumors that Wesley Fofana could be up for sale and he could go to Marseille or some club in France. Unfortunately, the guy, well, it could be a sale, it could be a loan. The guy just, ever since he came to Chelsea, has had a rough luck with injuries. Good player when he's healthy, but maybe he needs a fresh start elsewhere or a loan to get his footing. Sucks, but if that's the case, why not?
Yeah.
And more quick transfer rumors here. There's been links to Morgan Rogers, the winger out of Aston Villa, England international, Cole Palmer's buddy. It was actually Rogers who started this celebration, the cold celebration.
Oh, really?
Cole Palmer just made it worldwide. But this would be great if this is true, because Rogers, he's great at taking on defenders, passing. He's an excellent dribbler. He and Palmer would definitely form some chemistry, and he's one of the best young players in England and in the world right now. And this guy's being compared to Rooney and Musiala over the past year or whatever. 22 years old too, so that fits with Stanley and Stewart's age bracket. And then
it makes it really easy to give someone a 17-year long contract.
Yeah. Real Madrid's Rodrigo. There's rumblings that he could look to leave Real Madrid.
Saw that, yeah.
He's seriously considering.
Yeah.
One of the best wingers in the world right now at 24. He can press. He's fast. He's an excellent dribbler. He's smart. And he can play left wing, right wing, or even striker. And he's a deadly left foot. If I'm Chelsea, bring this guy. You want that needle-moving winger? That's your guy. And he's under 25 too, so even better. Bring him. If I had a choice, bring Rodrigo to Chelsea. But that will determine if Chelsea make Champions League or not. Hey, and with Willian Esteval coming into the squad next season, who would be the perfect mentor than his fellow countryman?
Right.
And one last thing for Chelsea here. This just came out of nowhere. I didn't think this would happen. They finally have a shirt sponsor.
You've gone the whole season without a shirt sponsor. Isn't that weird?
And they're having a sponsor only for the last 6 games or whatever it is. You finally have a shirt sponsor, and it's like the season's almost over, and it's a company called Damac, which is a UAE property development company based in Dubai, and DeMac will also be the club's development partner going forward. So yay, a shirt sponsor.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's so too little too late. And I don't understand why the back can't be the permanent shirt sponsor for the next few years, but
They're not for like when they signed, they literally just signed for 6 games.
yeah, like what's the deal?
That's so bizarre. Yeah.
I-
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I remember there were rumblings about Qatar Airways, but that depends on Champions League qualification and
Yeah,
also
because they've been shirt sponsors for other big teams, but they
Air
want
Jordan. They want the Air Jordan symbol on the kits too, but that also depends on Champions League qualification.
Gotcha.
So Tottenham continue to be the most depressing side in the world. Like even as a rival fan, like that's just depressing. And you said it would be a blowout, and you were right.
5-1 Liverpool. They won a trophy.
They won the league.
It's anyway. Let's move on. And
it's just depressing.
A dead man walking. Like Postecoglou. If he's not fired, I almost feel like he just wants to leave. Like you get the feeling that he just doesn't want to be there right now. He's yawning in press conferences. He's gotten feisty with a few reporters. It's just not a good league. Now, Madison,
dead man walking.
James Madison has come out and said that the players are still in full support of the manager, and saying everything that a player is supposed to say about their manager. What the truth is, I don't know. It'll come out later.
That's different.
Bodo Glimt today in Europa Conference. This is a team.
Europa League.
Europa League.
Chelsea in the conference.
Norway. Games in Norway, north of the Arctic Circle. That's how far north these guys are. And right now, there is no fear. Like there is a very strong belief they will get a result today. That game is coming up here as of the time of recording in 45 minutes. I should say that this is a team Spurs should be doing the business.
But this is Spurs we're talking about.
I genuinely don't know what to think. I'll be watching it because I'm a masochist, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. And the Tottenham Hotspur fans, just depression right now.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have my Whitecaps and I have my Oilers. They're keeping my spirit alive.
Yeah, I can imagine saying that the Whitecaps doing a lot better than Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, exactly.
So Liverpool are the Premier League champions. To no one's surprise. I mean, the job Arne Slot's done, incredible.
Yeah. And he's only one of 5 managers that I think has won the Premier League in their first year.
Yeah, I can't remember the others, but I know 2 of them are
Conte I know was one
with Chelsea.
Yeah,
and Mourinho.
Yeah, I can't remember the others. Moro, the guy with Manchester City.
In 2012.
Yeah.
And I really love how Arne Slot acknowledged Jurgen Klopp at the end, because when Klopp left, he started the Arne Slot la 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 chant, and then Slot, gave it back with Jurgen Klopp la 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 la. 2 class acts.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice thing to do too.
And I had Liverpool finishing like 3rd.
Yeah,
heading into the season, but I mean,
I don't think anyone saw the mid-season capitulation of Man City.
Yeah, and
I mean, where it looked like to the point where Guardiola was almost involved in self-harm.
Yeah, and no one expected Ryan Gravenberch to become the 6th Liverpool needed. I guess they didn't need Zubamendi after all. And
Liverpool's midfield has reinvented themselves a number of times in the past few years. Like, just think of a few years ago when they brought in McAllister, and everyone's like, "Really?" And then look at him now.
Hey, I'm a big McAllister believer, and they only got him for like what, 30 million from Brighton.
Yeah.
And Mohamed Salah is still one of the best players in the world, even at like 33, 34.
Yeah.
So same with
the fact that they're able to keep him is great for them.
and they're going to keep Virgil van Dijk too
Yeah.
longer. Still one of the best center backs in the world.
Yeah. And I think they said it was the first Belgian player to be
Dutch.
involved in a Dutch.
First
Sorry,
Dutch captain.
Dutch, yeah.
And Slot's the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League.
There you go.
They're despite there's some criticism like, Darwin Nunez isn't the striker they need. I mean, he isn't, but they managed to score a lot of goals even though he isn't firing.
Salah is also the main guy, right? So
Yeah.
as long as Nunez can come in and, I don't know, grab 10 in a season, good on him.
Yeah, and then you got guys like Curtis Jones, Connor Bradley, Dominic Sabitz like stepping up. Even like a deaf guy like Wataru Endo.
Yeah.
Good deaf player in Liverpool's midfield. And yeah, just, congrats to Liverpool as much as, we hate to say it, but for a Liverpool fan, congratulations. They end the Man City dominance. And
it's
yeah,
well
like
deserved. It's well deserved this season. Yeah.
And then the Champions League semifinals. There's been memes going on like the Arsenal tifo that they held up against PSG. I mean, I don't know what was that? It looks like they just took the JPEG of the cannon and just enlarged it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the tifo.
PSG. They started to get rid of like the big name players, right? Like Messi's gone, Mbappe's gone,
Neymar's gone.
And correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't it feel like they finally realized, oh wait, we got to build a team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get Dembele is on fire and everything, but PSG just feels like a more cohesive team now.
Yeah, they do. And credit to Luis Enrique.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, but that's the way it should be.
Yeah. And I saw a stat saying that Marquinhos created more chances than Martin Odegaard in that game.
Wow.
Odegaard was invisible.
I know.
Like, I saw a stat line zeros across the board.
Yeah. And all Arsenal before this game for Arsenal,
they could not generate much. And credit to Donnarumma for making the saves.
And the funny thing is, forget this game. What about the other tie?
Oh my god! Like I didn't get to see this game, unfortunately. I had to go to my chiropractor because
Inter Milan.
This game was why we love football.
Oh my gosh!
Like absolute cinema. Inter Milan were up 2-0. Thuram scored on the header, and Denzel Dumfries scores a header too. But guess who steps up? The kid, the 17-year-old. No, the wonder kid.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal.
Here's my hope about Yamal. I don't want him to become another Kylian Mbappe, where it's like 18 years old, wins World Cup, everything in front of him, and he's the player's head becomes bigger than what's on the pitch. One of the experienced players on Barcelona needs to take Yamal by the shoulder and just congratulate him and just remind him that he still has room to grow. Remind him that he's still one of 11 on the pitch. Because at 17 years old and you're getting all this handed to you, my fear is that the head becomes bigger than the player. And I really hope that does not happen with him.
I really hope.
Because he could be something so special.
Future Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah.
And he better not, let the ego come.
Just keep the
growing. Way he just went around the defenders like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And then Ferran Torres also gets one. I think Lamar had the assist on that. I mean, Dumfries also had a good game. 2 goals. But the last goal, too bad it's an own goal off Jan Sommer because it went off his back. This shot from Rafinha, my God. Off the bar, off Sommer's back and in. Just from outside the box. Oh, by the way, Rafinha also deserves Ballon d'Or shouts.
Yeah.
The season he's having. And this guy played for Leeds not too long ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
And he just past 2 seasons at Barca, people are like, okay, sure, up and down player, not a needle mover, but now he's moving the needle so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Barcelona has just been, for all the financial troubles that they've had in previous years, they've done very, very well this year.
Yeah. So Still close to call in the Champions League semifinals.
Yeah, give to either of these four teams. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Anyone but Arsenal is what we're still saying.
Yes.
So Birmingham City has set the record for the most points in the EFL, 108 points in League One, and they've
And they
already
still
been
have a game to
promoted.
go.
Yeah.
They still have a game to go. They still have to play, I believe it's Cambridge United in their final match. But yeah, 108 points. They could make it 111. No one's done it more in the football leagues. Not
Yeah,
bad.
and also, second place, Wrexham has been promoted to the championship as well.
They have been promoted to the championship as well.
So three
That
repeated promotions.
no other team has done that in the top
Yeah,
five.
and hey, having Hollywood support them helps.
Yeah.
So yeah, congrats to the local boy Ryan Reynolds and all the Wrexham players and fans.
Not bad. Interesting one here. Julian Lopetegui. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, former Sevilla and West Ham manager.
Yeah,
Has
he
been
is now
appointed
the
the manager
of the Qatari national team.
Yeah, which very interesting. Did not expect. And I'm just looking at Qatar here. Yeah, of all places, he goes there. Hey, he needs work, and Qatar, competing in the Asian Football Confederation. I'm just seeing what their last game was.
Well, right now in the World Cup qualifiers, in their group of six, they're sitting in fourth, and
Yeah.
they are further down because in their group is Iran, and Iran's already qualified. So
Yeah, they lost their last World Cup qualifier to Kyrgyzstan 3-1.
yeah, there you go. And
So they
Kyrgyzstan
did-
is actually lower than them in their table.
Yeah, they play Iran on June 5th.
Yeah,
So, hell of a job for Lopetegui to take.
Carlo Ancelotti to Brazil. Is it on or is it off?
It looked like it was on, but
Now,
hold your horses.
yeah. Dude, the weird thing is we've seen managers go to national teams before where they haven't had to worry about paying, exit clauses or things like that, like Nagelsmann and all the stuff that was going on in Germany, other places. That seems to be the hang-up right now. And it seems like Brazil is ready to cut their losses and go with was it Jorge Jesus, I believe?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Real Madrid are just not happy with the financial arrangements and the timing, according to ESPN. And they're willing to pay the remainder of Ancelotti's contract, which expires in 2026.
Yeah.
Just
So
club.
it's only a year left. Brazil needs someone because they've got a year to start galvanizing a team to get ready for World Cup. And Real Madrid just needs to figure themselves out.
Yeah. And I mean, if Ancelotti leaves, I feel like they'll go after Xabi Alonso.
That's exactly who they're going to go after. That's exactly. Does Alonso take it? I think a year ago, no. Now he might be ready.
Yeah, and it's just Real Madrid's making things way more complicated for
It's what
Ancelotti
they do.
and Brazil.
It's what they do. Now, don't get me wrong. There is nothing Ancelotti needs to do to write his story right now. We were joking last night because chances are, whether or not he goes to Brazil or not, he's probably done at Real Madrid. So if he ends up not going to Brazil, does he take the year off and we see him fishing off of Vancouver somewhere?
Hey, maybe he'll show up to a Whitecaps game and learn something from Jesper Sorensen.
Why not? Hang out with the in-laws.
Yeah, and one last thing before we end the show. I have to mention this. So Messi's out of the Champions Cup. Ronaldo's out of the Asian Champions League
Same day.
on the same day. What are the odds of that happening?
I know, right?
They lost 3-2 to Kawasaki of J League in their semifinal.
Yeah. And they did this with like all the games in the Asian Champions setup. All the games are taking place at the same venue, just because Asia is so big, right? So I mean, the games are basically taking place in Saudi Arabia's backyard. It's Japan that had to do the travel.
Yeah, hey, no problem for Kawasaki.
Done. Yeah.
So Messi and Ronaldo knocked out on the same day. Like, yeah, that's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
So that'll conclude this week's episode. A lot of Whitecaps talk, obviously, a longer one. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. RSL this weekend. We'll be at BC Place for that. Rise also play Halifax Tides on Monday at Swangard.
Mm-hmm.
Cover that. I'll be back next week talking about those games and so much more. So hello to everyone who are watching us live on Area 51 Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. And hello to everyone listening on the podcast platform. So follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, Nathan and Derek. We're also on Blue Sky. Podcast is on Twitter, Blue Sky, Terminal City FC, and Instagram. That concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.